Most apex predators want nothing to do with us. They've learned over thousands of years that humans are dangerous, unpredictable, and not worth the risk. But there are a few predators that haven't gotten this message: animals that will actively stalk, pursue, and hunt humans as a food source. Some do it out of desperation when their natural prey has disappeared. Others do it because we share their habitat and they simply view us as another meal. In today's video, we'll be looking at 6 apex predators that are known to hunt humans. And to find our first predator, we'll be heading to the frozen north. Number 6, Polar Bear. The polar bear is the largest land predator on the planet, with the biggest males capable of reaching weights of over 700 kilograms and standing nearly 3 m tall on their hind legs. Perfectly adapted to life in the Arctic with thick blubber, dense fur, and enormous paws that act as snowshoes on the ice, they sit at the absolute top of the food chain in their frozen world. Their primary prey is the ringed seal, which they hunt by waiting patiently at breathing holes in the sea ice, sometimes for hours, before striking with explosive speed. But when seals are scarce, polar bears will eat almost anything they can find, and unfortunately, that includes humans. What sets the polar bear apart from every other bear species is that it is the only one that will actively stalk and hunt humans as a food source. Grizzly bears and black bears will attack people, but these attacks are almost always defensive, triggered by surprise encounters, protection of cubs, or defense of a food source. Polar bears are different. When a polar bear approaches a human settlement or campsite, it is often doing so because it is hungry and views the people inside as potential prey. If a grizzly bear charges you, playing dead can sometimes convince it you are no longer a threat. If a polar bear is stalking you, playing dead will simply make its job easier. In 2011, a polar bear attacked a group of young people on a camping expedition in Svalbard, Norway, killing 1 person and injuring 4 others before being shot. The bear had been stalking the campsite for some time, and its behavior was consistent with a predatory approach rather than a defensive one. Climate change is making the situation worse. As Arctic sea ice declines, polar bears spend more time on land with less access to their preferred seal prey, and hungry bears are increasingly wandering into human settlements. In 2019, dozens of polar bears invaded the Russian town of Belushia Guba, entering apartment buildings and terrifying residents. The polar bear takes the 6th place spot. Number 5, Leopard. The leopard is the most adaptable of all the big cats, found across a wider range of habitats than any other large feline, from the rainforests of Central Africa to the Himalayan foothills of Nepal. They are solitary, nocturnal, and incredibly stealthy, and these traits have made them the most dangerous big cat to humans in certain parts of the world. While lions and tigers tend to make headlines when they attack people, leopards have quietly accumulated one of the highest body counts of any land predator, and they have produced some of the most prolific man-eaters in recorded history. What makes leopards particularly dangerous is their comfort around human settlements. Unlike lions, which generally avoid villages, and tigers, which stick to dense forest, leopards will walk straight into towns and cities under the cover of darkness. In India, leopard attacks in urban and semi-urban areas have been increasing as human development pushes further into their habitat. There have been cases where leopards entered houses through open windows and attacked people while they slept. In one horrifying incident in 2016, a leopard entered a school in Bangalore, causing panic as it chased through corridors and classrooms before being tranquilized. The most infamous man-eating leopard in history was the leopard of Paner, believed to have killed over 400 people in northern India in the early 1900s, the second deadliest individual man-eater ever recorded, behind only a single tiger we'll get to later. The legendary hunter Jim Corbett, who dedicated much of his life to tracking man-eating big cats, described man-eating leopards as far more difficult and dangerous to hunt than man-eating tigers, because they are smaller and harder to spot, hunt almost exclusively at night, and are masterful at using cover. In nearly every case he investigated, the animal had become a man-eater after suffering an injury, a broken jaw, a porcupine quill in its paw, or a gunshot wound. That made it unable to hunt its normal prey. And in the densely populated villages of rural India, the easiest available food source was humans. The leopard takes the 5th place spot. Number 4, Lion. The lion is the only big cat that lives in large social groups, and this social structure has made it one of the most effective predators on the African continent and one of the most dangerous animals to humans throughout history. A pride of lions that has learned to hunt people can devastate an entire region. Lions are generally wary of humans today and in most parts of Africa avoid villages and settlements. But throughout history, and in some places even today, certain individuals and prides have developed a taste for human flesh. The most iconic man-eating lion story is that of the Tsavo man-eaters, two maneless male lions that terrorized a railway construction project in Kenya in 1898. Over approximately 9 months, these two lions killed and consumed an estimated 35 workers, though some accounts put the number significantly higher. The attacks brought construction on the Kenya-Uganda railway to a complete standstill as terrified workers refused to continue. The lions targeted workers' camps with calculated precision, dragging men from their tents at night and carrying them into the darkness. Despite elaborate defensive measures including thorn fences and bonfires, they continued their attacks with an intelligence and persistence that baffled everyone involved. The project's chief engineer, Colonel John Henry Patterson, eventually shot both lions after months of failed attempts, and their stuffed bodies are still on display at the Field Museum of Natural History in Chicago. In Tanzania, lion attacks remain a serious problem. An estimated 200 to 300 people were killed by lions between 1990 and 2005. In the Njom region of Tanzania, a single pride killed an estimated 1,500 people between 1932 and 1947, the worst man-eating episode involving lions ever recorded. What often triggers man-eating behavior is similar to what triggers it in leopards, an injury preventing the lion from hunting its normal prey. Broken teeth, porcupine quills, and diseases that reduce their strength can all push lions toward easier targets, and in rural Africa, humans are among the easiest available. The lion takes the 4th place spot. Number 3, Saltwater crocodile. The saltwater crocodile is the largest living reptile on the planet, capable of exceeding 6 m in length and weighing over a metric ton. And it is one of the few animals in the world that will actively and deliberately hunt humans whenever the opportunity presents itself. Unlike some other predators on this list that only turn to humans under specific circumstances, the saltwater crocodile doesn't need a reason. To a large saltwater croc, a human wading in a river or walking along a riverbank is simply another animal of an appropriate size to eat. There is no desperation, no injury that forced a switch in prey. Humans are just food. They are found across a vast range from eastern India through Southeast Asia, northern Australia, and into the western Pacific Islands, and across this range they claim hundreds of lives each year. Estimates suggest saltwater crocodiles kill between 300 and 1,000 people annually. On Bangka Island in Indonesia, tin mining has destroyed much of their natural habitat, pushing them into mine lakes where they ambush local workers. Since 2016, around 40 people have lost their lives to attacks on this one island alone. In Australia, fatal attacks are rarer thanks to aggressive public education campaigns and strict regulations, but they still happen. In 1985, a model named Ginger Meadows was killed by a saltwater crocodile while wading in shallow water in northern Queensland. Despite warnings from locals, she entered the water and was taken almost immediately. What makes saltwater crocodiles so effective as human hunters is their ambush strategy. They lie motionless at the water's edge, invisible beneath the surface with only their eyes and nostrils exposed, waiting for hours without moving. Their dark, rough skin making them virtually indistinguishable from a submerged log. The attack, when it comes, is explosive and almost impossible to survive. They lunge forward with a burst of speed that seems impossible for an animal of their size, grab their victim in jaws that exert several tons of bite force, and drag them underwater in a fraction of a second. There have even been documented cases of saltwater crocodiles learning the routines of people who regularly visit the same riverbank spot, and then positioning themselves there and waiting, a level of predatory intelligence that makes them one of the most dangerous animals a human can encounter. The saltwater crocodile takes the 3rd place spot. Number 2, Nile crocodile. The Nile crocodile is the 2nd largest living reptile after the saltwater crocodile, and across sub-Saharan Africa it is the animal that claims the most human lives. These massive predators can reach lengths of over 6 m and weights of over a metric ton, and they inhabit virtually every major river system, lake, and wetland across the continent. In many parts of rural Africa, people have no choice but to use rivers and lakes for drinking water, bathing, washing clothes, and fishing, putting them in direct contact with Nile crocodiles on a daily basis. The result is an estimated 300 to 500 human fatalities per year, though the true number is almost certainly higher as many attacks in remote areas go unreported. Women who wash clothes and collect water are among the most frequent victims, as are fishermen who wade into shallow water to check their nets. In some regions, crocodile attacks are so common they barely make the local news, and families that have lost members view it as an unavoidable fact of life. It's impossible to discuss the Nile crocodile without mentioning Gustave, a massive individual that became one of the most notorious man-eating animals in modern history. First identified by French herpetologist Patrice Fay in the late 1990s in Burundi's Ruzizi River and Lake Tanganyika, Gustave was rumored to have killed up to 300 people, with a more realistic estimate around 60 confirmed kills, which would still make him one of the deadliest individual predators of any species in recorded history. He was estimated to be over 6 m long and covered in scars including bullet marks. Multiple capture and kill missions were launched against Gustave, but he evaded every single one, disappearing into the depths of Lake Tanganyika each time. Whether Gustave is still alive today is unknown, but his legacy as Africa's most feared crocodile endures. The Nile crocodile takes the second place spot. Number 1. Tiger. The tiger is the largest of all the big cats, with some males reaching weights of over 300 kilograms, and it has been responsible for more human deaths than any other wildcat species in recorded history. It is estimated that tigers killed approximately 373,000 people in India alone between 1800 and 2009, a number that is almost impossible to comprehend. The most prolific individual man-eater in history was the Champavat tiger, a female Bengal tiger that killed an estimated 436 people across Nepal and the Kamaur region of northern India in the late 1800s and early 1900s. When Jim Corbett finally shot her in 1907, he discovered that both of her upper canine teeth had been broken, likely by a previous gunshot wound, an injury that had made it impossible for her to hunt her normal prey, turning her to the only animal accessible enough to catch. Humans. The story of the Champavat tiger is both horrifying and tragic, because the tiger that killed 436 people had been created by a human who had shot and wounded her years earlier. Today, tiger attacks still occur, though the numbers are far lower, mostly because there are far fewer tigers, with only an estimated 4,500 wild individuals remaining. But in certain areas attacks remain a serious and ongoing problem. The Sundarbans, a vast mangrove forest straddling the border between India and Bangladesh, is the most dangerous place in the world for tiger attacks. Around a third of all tiger attacks on humans occur in this region, and the tigers here have developed a reputation for being particularly aggressive and bold. Local fishermen and honey collectors who enter the mangroves are the most vulnerable. Deterrent measures have been tried, including face masks worn on the back of the head. Based on the theory that tigers prefer to ambush from behind, which worked briefly before the tigers seemed to figure out the trick. Electrified human dummies have shown some success, but in a mangrove forest stretching over 10,000 square kilometers, these measures can only do so much. The decision of whether to capture or kill a man-eating tiger is always controversial, as each individual represents a significant fraction of the wild population. A moral dilemma with no easy answer, and one that will become more common as human populations expand into tiger habitat. The tiger's long and devastating history of hunting humans, combined with ongoing attacks across its range, means it easily takes the first place spot. No other big cat, and arguably no other land predator, has claimed as many human lives throughout history. OUTRO. Of course, there are a few other predators that could have made this list, and I'm sure some of you will have different opinions on the rankings. If you have any thoughts or suggestions, then feel free to let me know down below. But for now, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.